to love, grow, and serve. I'm Reverend Pat Dre, and I'm so delighted that you chose to join us today on either Zoom or YouTube. Let's start today's service by sharing our statement of oneness, and then let that lead us into the opening prayer. So together we say, there is one presence and one power in my life and the universe, God, the good omnipotence. And now join me in prayer by getting relaxed in your seat, taking a deep breath and letting it go. It's just a marvelous morning, such beautiful temperatures out, soft, gentle sunlight, and really one of my favorite times of the year. And today we know what an abundant life we have. Now, as I say these words, please have them be your own. I speak this prayer for you, for me, for each one of us, to set the stage for a very good week. And so, relaxing in place, join me. I know that I am surrounded by infinite mind, which reacts to my thoughts according to the law. I know that there is only God, only one infinite power, the one infinite presence, the one infinite intelligence. This intelligence lies within me and beyond me. And I breathe in and release. I acknowledge the truth that I am powerful beyond measure, that my light shines brightly. And I remember that I am brilliant, beautiful, talented, and fabulous. I am a creation of God. And right now in this moment, I cast aside any appearances of circumstances around me that might lead me to be afraid to hold back. I refuse to think small. I think big because I am entitled to think big. I know that the universe supports me fully, and therefore I am perfectly secure in the arms of God. I live manifesting through my co-creative ability, with God knowing in each moment that it lies within me. And as I let my light shine, I encourage others to do the same. As I'm liberated from my own fear, my presence automatically liberates others. I develop a health and prosperity consciousness by daily applying myself to the practice of truth. As I listen and perfectly put into action God's plan for me. What I desire is a thought form, and it creates. And it develops and rounds out my consciousness. And it keeps my mind and body strong. And in all of this, I serve others to the best of my ability. What I think and feel and how I relate towards others invites them to live at their very best. I have the innate ability to bring my soul to Christ consciousness and a high spiritual standard of living. I live in conscious appreciation for the immense good that surrounds me. I am especially grateful to all of those whose efforts have produced the food I eat, the clothing I wear, the home that I have, and life's conveniences. I know that these wonderful things have been brought to me because they were co-created with the One. And I appreciate each one of you, and each one that have contributed to my good life. and keep my channels open as I also contribute to others, as I give of my own abilities and my own special gifts through my work, through my service, through who I am as I walk through my day, and the gift of myself as I interact. I have a deeper understanding of the true purpose of life and service. And I know that what I do, whether it's compensated work or service, is truly my self-expression and the development of my God-given faculties and powers. And for all of this, I am deeply, deeply grateful. I live these principles in joy today and this week as I make use of the inexhaustible supply that has been so generously given to me. And knowing that this is true, it is a consequence of my being the offspring of a God that loves me. Join me in saying, and so it is. Amen. So thank you again for joining us this morning. And those that are joining us on Zoom, I know you are aware, use the time to join us a little ahead of service so you can communicate, converse with one another. It is a wonderful time to connect and hear other people's news and chat with our wonderful ministers. We have the marvelous Reverend Sally Robbins with us today, and she gets on early, and it's so refreshing to chat with her. It's just wonderful. And of course, stay with us afterwards for a little more of what we find so special. We leave that Zoom open for about 10, 15 minutes for you to chat. And for those of joining us on YouTube, please do subscribe and do like Unity of Charlotte. That helps others find us and our YouTube broadcast available at any time. With that, I was taking you through our week and saying that Barbara Rolfe has a wonderful class that starts at 10:15 on Wednesday mornings. And the links to all of these events are on the Unity website. And this is a reading of the book of the Healing Prayers of Myrtle Fillmore. It is delightful. I have been reading this book now for quite some time, and I will tell you, it's a powerful reading and a powerful conversation. So do yourself a favor, give yourself a gift and join us. We will wrap our arms around you and will be part of something that will be a reset button for your week in midweek, at the midweek point. So on Thursday morning at 9:30, there is a Course in Miracles program. Join that. The Course in Miracles is the course for a lifetime. Not once, not twice, but many times. So join that class through the link at the website also. And on Sunday, we have our book club. That's today at 1 p.m. So become engaged, become involved. You'll never regret it. I also want to say that our announcements, we don't send out very many Unity messages probably because of COVID. And so they're condensed into one very powerful email message that goes out on Friday. And it has all of the announcements in it. And it has one other thing, which is Alan asked me to do this back in the spring. I started writing a meditation or prayer in the, and that is at the second half of the email message you get on Friday. So it's like a little bit longer version of the word of the day. So please look down to that link. You may find it helpful. You can also print it out if you know how to just cut and paste, and you can change it and make it your own. So I encourage you to do that as well. If anyone you know of or yourself is in need of prayer, please use our prayer request through our website. I am delighted with the prayer requests that we get, and I would encourage many more. And I'm even starting to get requests for things that are not illness, pain, grief, things like that. People are asking me to pray for good things, things that are already in thought or in desire or in mind. So we're happy to put your request in prayer, whatever your request is. Thank you. Silent Unity is always available to you. Just dial 800 now pray for a personal affirmative prayer. I'm delighted today. We do have a guest minister next week, and her name is Robin Bolger. She is from Blairsville, Georgia, and she is a Unity minister, now retired, but we're happy to have her next week. So please tune in and get your friends to tune in to this wonderful message and this speaker who is a friend of some of our members of Unity of Charlotte. And so I thank you. And now I get to thank in advance for a favorite Sunday. All my Sundays are favorite Sundays. But when we have Sally Robbins doing our service, I take very special attention, and it really comes in handy in my week. Thank you always, Sally, for your inspiration, and we appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Reverend Pat. It's just so wonderful to have the consciousness that you bring that set the tone for our service today. Oh, welcome everybody. Happy Sunday. It's sunny. Yay. I don't know about you, but it's been a little rainy here. Ready for that giant orb in the sky? Yes, that's the sun. We haven't seen much of it lately. So we're so happy that you're here with us on this beautiful fall day. And we're going to continue with our service I'll share my screen, and we will together share our affirmation for September. This will be our last time to do this affirmation. So I'm knowing that we're going to really integrate it and put it into our whole self here as we read it together. So would you please read it with me? My prayer life is my connection with God's abundant good. Living in a limitless and loving universe means that unlimited good is always available for me. My daily prayer life is the key that opens the doorway through which God's limitless good flows to me. My prayer life is my connection with God's abundant good. And we know that is the truth, do we not? That one of the spiritual principles that we hold to is that spiritual practice is so important. And our prayer life, our connection to that divine one within us is so important to stay deeply rooted within us and take that time to pray, to affirm, to meditate, to maintain that connection with the God within. So we're always grateful to remind ourselves of that spiritual principle. And so today, my talk is going to be called Voyage of the Heart. This is a rather personal one for me. And I hope you'll indulge me a little bit. You know how I like stories. Well, this main story is one of my own. I had a teacher who always encouraged us to be your own laboratory, because if I can't absolutely integrate these principles into my life and practice them and be them, I am just a sounding gong in the world with all the noise. There's no reason for me to talk about any of these spiritual principles unless I am doing them. And so I use myself in my talks, as many of you know, as the harbinger of this too can be done, because I try to embody these principles, and I know you do too. So I'll just start with how just a couple months ago, it was actually in June, I have a planner, and I'll show you my planner here. It's actually a planner that I use that that I get once a quarter, and so it's a hardback, and it contains 3 months worth. I just got my one for the fourth quarter, and what I love about this planner is that I get to write my goals every time in it, and I get to keep my goals in front of me. I read them and look at them and try to make sure that I integrate them on a daily basis. And so last June, I was getting ready to fill out my new planner for third quarter. And so I was transferring my goals into my new planner. And as I did so, I actually have this thing called my life plan. And this is a little booklet I created that has all of my goals and how I want to be in the world. And so I keep this in the back of my planner, and I was updating this as well as of July 1st of 2020. And so I was preparing this, and one of the roles that I had in here that I wish to be in this world is a loving wife. And this concerns my relationship with my future husband. And so I had, my purpose, my envisioned future. And so I'm writing the goal again in my planner for the umpteenth time. Can you give me an amen for that? So there's many of us who have goals that we just keep moving forward. And I've been divorced for many years and always knew that there was something there for me if I just kept my eyes on the prize. So I have specific commitments that I make and intentions that I make to each of the goals. And the commitments are to be every quality that I'm seeking in him. I cannot attract that I am not. So if I want a friend, I have to be a friend, as Emerson would say. So I was always trying to really be the qualities of the person that I was hoping to attract. Secondly, to enter the quantum field daily to prepare myself and to attract my perfect mate, meaning that I would go within and see this as already done. That's we call that the mental equivalent. I believe Emmett Fox was the one who coined that phrase. And we actually have to see it and believe it before we can see it manifest in our world. And so I would practice that. And then a third intention that I had was to go on a date by X date. Now, X date kept moving up. It was like, okay, I didn't go out on a date this quarter, so let me move the date to next quarter. And I kept moving it forward. So finally, when I was writing my goals for this quarter, I realized how many times I had written that goal and I hadn't done anything about it. I was doing the inner work, but I hadn't done anything on the outer. The next day, he sent me a message back saying, and it turns out it was a standard answer. I didn't know this at the time, but the answer back was, I've fallen in love and I wish everyone the very best. And I thought, okay, he's out. So I sent messages to 3 other men and, I like your profile and maybe we can connect. And one of them answered back very quickly with another standard answer, basically saying he didn't wish to hear from me any longer. And I thought, oh my goodness, this is hard stuff. And the other 2 men never even acknowledged the message that I sent them. So by now I'm like, okay, I'm 0 for 4 with eHarmony. What's going on here? I'm trying to really put myself out there and this didn't feel very good. So a couple of days later, I was meeting with a spiritual group that I meet with every Tuesday night. And I was telling my friends in this group, you know what? I realize that my job is simply to make myself available, to tell the universe that I'm available. I've done that by putting myself out onto an online dating platform. And if I don't hear from another person on eHarmony, that's okay. Because what I have to discover is that my intrinsic value doesn't change one whit if I never hear from anybody again. I just have to know who I am and that I'm lovable and that I will make a wonderful partner for somebody somewhere down the line. That's the message here. That's the idea that I have to get to. And that night, as we were closing down our Zoom session, I thought, I'm going to check eHarmony one more time. And I opened up eHarmony, and there was the message from Bob. And I knew immediately, as soon as I read that message, that there was something really special about this man. I looked at his profile and went, wow, we have a lot in common. And we messaged all the next day. And then the next day after that, we finally talked on the phone, and we have been inseparable ever since. It was amazing how quickly, your life can change in an instant. But I know that the crucible point, the point that I really had to get to was, okay, I was 0 for 4, but what I had to understand was that I had to keep holding to the idea that God presence within me knew exactly what was happening, knew exactly how this could unfold perfectly for me if I just held to that idea and kept knowing the truth about me and the God within me. Because if I have the desire in me, that's coming directly from God too. God is the desire and the manifestation. That's the point I had to get to. Oh my goodness. If God put the desire in me, of course the manifestation has to come about. And so when I got to that place, the skies parted, everything opened up, and I absolutely understood that now I was ready and I was available. And that's when it happened. So the voyage of the heart is what I want to focus on this morning. How do we get to that place where we're in accord with that which we are here to do, that the spiritual mission, if you would, that we're here to be on, and all of the things that help us get that spiritual mission in place, which can include a spouse, which can include family, which can include a business partner, whatever the desire is to make that happen. So I call these moments, the moment that I just described, teachable moments. I'm going to share my screen with you again and show you just how we walk through these teachable moments. So the first thing we need to have in this way is we have to have the capability to be teachable. The voyage of the heart requires you to be teachable. I love this slide of the elephant, the mother elephant gently nudging the baby elephant, teaching her how to go down into the water to get water and to take a bath, whatever it is they're going there to do. But sometimes I see spirit gently nudging me into place. Yes, just keep going. Just keep going. Despite the appearances out there, keep your eyes on the prize and know that there is something moving in the unseen for your highest good. And if we are open and available to that teachable moment, our lives can shift. I was reading this article by architect Christopher Alexander recently, and he said, in my life as an architect, I find that the single thing which inhibits young professionals, new students most severely, is their acceptance of standards that are too low. If I ask a student whether her design is as good as Chartres, which that is the city in France just south of Paris that is famous, world famous for its cathedral, that's what people know for that city. The student often smiles tolerantly at me as if to say, of course not. That isn't what I'm trying to do. I could never do that. Then I express my disagreement and tell her that standard must be our standard. If you're going to be a builder, no other standard is worthwhile. That is what I expect of myself in my own buildings, and it is what I expect of my students. Gradually, I show the students that they have a right to ask this of themselves and must ask this of themselves. Once that level of standard is in their minds, they will be able to figure out for themselves how to do better, how to make something that is as profound as that. I find that when I am in that place of being teachable, I have to let go of the idea that I know it all already. Are you with me on that? And that when I'm in that place of, oh my goodness, there is something to learn here. And yet the human mind, especially when you've been around the block a time or two, like many of us have, we think we've got it down. And what I found that is that life is always teaching us. Life through spirit, through God, whatever name we choose to give it, is always giving us feedback about how we are to live, how we are to grow, how we are to love, how we are to spend our lives if we're open to that feedback. And if our standards, as he is saying here, if our standards are, well, that's good enough, that's okay. I used to work with an engineer at an aerospace firm, and I would say, hey, Chuck, how you doing? He'd say, fair to middling. And I would say to him, what does that mean? He's like, everything's just okay. I don't want to live an okay life. I don't know about you, but I want to live a spectacular, fun-filled life that is just so amazing and so wonderful, full of wonder. That's where I want to be. And so this is how we stay in that place of awe, of wonder, of deep caring, is knowing that our standards must be, I'm always growing. I'm always staying on my growing edge. I'm always living from that place of deep appreciation for learning more. That's where I want to be. Robert Russell has a wonderful quote from Putting the Prosperity Idea into Work. He says, working in the absolute is an awakening rather than a process. Before you can work successfully, you must not only be able to disregard appearances, but learn to work the facts. Now, working with the absolute, that's working with the God self within us. That's the absolute, never changing principle that is always there. Truth, light, love, peace, power, prosperity. That is the absolute, never changing. And when we work in that place, it's not a process or a formula to figure out how do I get from A to B. It's an awakening, because it's already there. If we simply awaken to it, we awaken from a sleep of sleepwalking through our human life. Got to get up, got to go to work, got to come home, got to make dinner. No, we're here to live from moment to moment. The holy instant is always there. So he says working with the absolute is an awakening rather than a process. But I love the second part here. Before you can work successfully, you must not only able to be disregard appearances, but learn to work with facts. So we have to be able to say, there's an appearance of COVID-19 going on right now that is causing panic and disruption and all of that. I'm looking beyond that to the perfection, the spiritual perfection of what absolutely is happening, that God is in this. Nothing and no thing is coming between me and my good. And so I'm absolutely stepping into the truth, the solid truth, that I am here to thrive despite what is happening. So I'm looking beyond the appearances, but I'm also dealing with the facts. The facts are COVID-19 is here. I get to wear a mask wherever I go. I have to have social distancing from people. That is a fact. And from that place, when I converge those two, that's the mastery. The spiritual master is always working on. You have to have both. And that's the Bible says you have to be in this world, but not of this world. That's what they're talking about. And so I get to still be teachable, still learning by being in this world, by accepting that there are facts here that I get to deal with, but not of this world, but there is something transcendent that maybe I can see with my spiritual eyes, but I cannot yet see with my physical eyes. See, the fact is, if I go back to my story, that I could see the potential and I knew the truth about me being equally partnered with someone, but I wasn't doing the outer work. I wasn't putting myself out into the world to be available to find someone. And so that's where I had to come into integrity. I wasn't doing anything about my desire. When I came into integrity, all of a sudden the light switch went on. See, God is all. God is all, both the desire and the fulfillment, the prayer and its answer, the idea and the manifestation. It's all within us, and we are the co-creative power with the inner God of our world to say, yes, this is what I want to bring forth into manifestation in my world. This is powerful work, friends. Powerful work. We have such great power at our disposal if we see it, claim it, and use it. We have to use it. Oh my goodness, that after 40, 50 years of studying these principles, I still have to remind myself, use it. Use it. Don't just think about it. Don't just study it. Use it. If this is practical spirituality, that's what I love about this. So the voyage of the heart is also requiring us to have courage. We have to have courage. And when we have courage, we get creative about what's happening. I know in my work, my daily work, I've had to, I use this word a lot, I've had to pivot because the same things that we've done before don't work any longer. So we get to pivot. Okay, let me try this. Let me see if this works in my world with a mask, with social distancing. And so creativity becomes the forefront of us having the courage to say, I'm going to move into a greater expression here. Eric Fromm has a wonderful quote. He says, creativity requires the courage to let go of certainties. Certainties. Oh my goodness. Many of us had a certainty that we could just hug whomever we wanted, that we could show up every Sunday at our beloved Unity of Charlotte and things would be the same. We had a certainty about us that is no longer. The certainty that I had, if I go back to my analogy here, my certainty was that the reason why, and I'm going to get very vulnerable and personal with you here, and I want you to hear this. The reason why I was afraid to go out on a date was I kept saying to myself, well, when I lose weight, then I can date because then I'll be lovable. Is anyone resonating to this? Is there something that you have said, well, when I get this, then I can have this? That's what was going on with me. That was a barrier that I had put up in my own mind, nowhere else, in my own mind, that said I couldn't have this until I got this. And it just never happened. And so what I had to understand was that my creativity, my certainty was, well, this can't happen until that happens. I had to banish that idea. I had to let go of the certainty that I had that who would want this? Who would be around, want to be, love this? And again, I'm being very personal here. I think that there, many of you out there may have something similar, maybe not about your body or your weight, or it could be about your age. I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm not educated, I can't be successful, I've tried to do this, and whatever that is, that's the certainty. I'm saying, let it go, that I had to move beyond that certainty, and the creativity required me to have the courage to let that go. It was a huge, huge stumbling block for me that I had to banish and just get rid of. And as soon as I let those go, my world changed. My world changed. One of my favorite people that I've studied quite a bit is Walt Disney. Talk about someone who really put himself out there. There's so many wonderful lessons in leadership and growth that we can learn from this man. But this is one of the quotes that I found recently. He said, Mickey Mouse popped out of my mind onto a drawing pad 20 years ago on a train ride from Manhattan to Hollywood at a time when business fortunes of my brother and myself were at the lowest ebb and disaster seemed right around the corner. He just held on to this idea. I know that my world is shaky right now. It looks like it's crumbling beneath my very feet. And yet, the idea of Mickey Mouse came to him in that moment. He was teachable in that moment to understand that he could take that idea and mold it into something. He didn't even know what it was yet, and he created Steamboat Willie, the first animated cartoon that he put out there. And the rest is history, as they say. The mouse became part of his kingdom. And so when we are holding to this idea that if I can just let go of the certainty that, man, it doesn't look very good right now. If we can let go of the certainty that maybe I'm not smart enough to do this. Maybe I'm not creative enough to do this. Maybe I'm not an entrepreneur. Maybe whatever that idea is, let it go. Because if you've been given the desire, God has given you the manifestation, and you can instantly change how things come about in your world if you choose to let it go. You never know. You never know when your greatest breakthrough is going to hit. In Walt Disney's case, it happened very quickly, where as soon as he recognized the capability of taking this idea of a mouse and doing something with it in a creative form that really was brand new, it was in its infancy, it changed his life. That was his breakthrough. Your breakthrough is right there too. It's right there on the other side of the veil if you simply choose to see it and claim it and use the spiritual principles we talk about here every week. They're available for your use if you let it go. If you let the certainty that it can't happen go, it will happen. See, the voyage of the heart requires you to stay on course. Have the courage to keep going, to keep trying. And the voyage of the heart requires a mystical marriage. What do I mean by that? That's a term that I found that many mystics have used along the way. But what I found recently here is from the Wisdom of Florence Scovel Shinn, which is a compilation of all of her books. Any of her books are fantastic. She was very popular around 100 years ago in the early 20th century. And this actually comes from The Game of Life and How to Play It. And she says, in the 23rd Psalm, we read, "He restoreth my soul." This means that the subconscious mind or soul must be restored with the right ideas. And the mystical marriage is the marriage of the soul and the spirit, or the subconscious and superconscious mind. They must be one. When the subconscious is flooded with the perfect ideas of the superconscious, God and man are one. That's what she means by the mystical marriage. When the ideas of God, the pure ideas that I just expressed, truth, light, love, power, beauty, joy, all of that is perfect and unchanging, when those ideas are one with us, then we have that mystical marriage. She goes on to say, that is, he is one with the realm of perfect ideas. He is the man made in God's likeness and image, and she has in parentheses, imagination, and is given power and dominion over all created things, his mind, body, and affairs. So in other words, we can't have that dominion until we have that mystical marriage. You might even call that being one with the one. That is a lifelong mission that we're all on, my friends. Being one with the one. See, we're in a world of multiplicity, and yet there is only one of us, being outpictured in different bodies and different forms and concepts. That's what we decided to come back to incarnate into, so that we could practice being the one. Because what I do to anyone else is what I do to the one, to myself. And so this mystical marriage is something that is also required on the voyage of the heart. We have to keep practicing how we stay centered, how we might get knocked off center a little bit, but we can come right back. We can come right back. That's the illumination that happens, the enlightenment, so to speak. When we keep coming back to that place, we get stronger, we get more secure, and pretty soon things don't knock us off center that used to years ago. They're not even in the ballpark anymore. We are totally centered and stayed on the one. That's what we have to, because right right now, right thinking. Right thinking, what I mean by that is staying fully present with those superconscious ideas. That is more critical right now than ever. As I've shared with you before, we can't afford the luxury of a negative thought. We have to stay focused on what is real with a capital R, the real qualities of being pure love, pure light. All of that has to come from us, from that place that only we can. As I express love and light is different than how you express love and light. And isn't that the wonderment of this world, is that we're all expressing in our own unique and wonderful way. I love that we each have our own unique gifts that only we can give. And it's incumbent upon us to show up as those gifts again and again and again. That's the mystical marriage. Showing up as God, as us, each and every moment, from the time we wake up to the time we go to sleep, when we're out in the grocery store, when we are, out with friends, when we are on a Zoom call, we are showing up as God, as us. That's the key. That's the key. So back to my story, the voyage of the heart. My heart had been battered a little bit. Can anyone relate to that? And, having reached this age, I was really wondering. I was really starting to wonder, is love really possible for me again? Is there something that I can hold to? Can I keep that idea that if I keep showing up as love, is there someone else I can share that love with? And so I was a little wary, as I shared with you. I had to have the courage, though, to put myself out there. I knew that this was something that I just had to do. There was something that there was an intensity about it that just was like, do this. Just shut up and do this. And so I obeyed and I listened. And I just said, okay, I'm going to put myself on eHarmony. And then remember when I said, I told my friends, if I never hear from anybody on eHarmony, if it never works out, that's okay. That's okay. Because I've done the outer work and I've put myself out there, and I will be divinely guided to do what's next. I know that if I only do the next step that I see, I don't have to know every single step to the final form. Just what's the next step? And that was the next step. And if that wasn't going to work, then I would pivot, I would have creativity, and I would be given the divine guidance to find something else to do. It was my job to listen to the divine guidance and obey that guidance. And so that's what I did. So that night, before I went to bed, I logged on to eHarmony again, and there was this message from Bob. And I couldn't believe it. I was like, wow, that's pretty amazing. And we hit it off. We knew very quickly, even just from our phone calls, that this was something very special. This was something that you don't get every day. We were so compatible in so many ways. We started finishing each other's sentences. We were very alike and still very different. There were some things about us that were very different, but we had great communication that we could talk through anything. And we were talking about everything. We were talking up to 8 hours a day. And I was trying to hold down a job while I was doing this. It's been a remarkable couple of weeks. That was August 18th, that night, that I got my first message from Bob. We had to deal with long distance. Bob lived in Indianapolis, and I live here in Asheville, North Carolina. So there was distance there, and we got very familiar with Zoom calls, and we started understanding that this was God ordained. And if God had brought us together, that God would figure out a way that this could work. And so we decided pretty quickly. I went up to Indianapolis on Labor Day weekend, just a few weeks after we met. And I will show you a picture of something that happened in that we took a picture of ourselves during that weekend. It was a fantastic weekend. And actually 8 days later, 8 days after that weekend, Bob packed a truck and moved to Asheville and moved in with me. And then a few days later, he proposed to me on September 18th. So it happened very quickly. and is so perfect and so right. And we're still working out all the details, but I'm knowing that we're going to be married in just a few short weeks. And this is where I get to see the fruit of my labors. This is where all the years, I was saying to a friend of mine, but it's only been, at that time, it had only been 17 days, and I was about to go to Indianapolis, and I was talking with my friend and saying, oh my God, it's only been 17 days. It's only, been a short time. How can I be so certain about this? And he said to me, it hasn't been 17 days. You've been divorced for 23 years. You've been doing your work. You've been showing up. You've had a couple of chances. You've dated a couple people along the way. They didn't work out, and you kept coming back. You kept showing up, and you kept saying, I'm available. I know that this is something that I want. So he said, it hasn't been 17 days. It's been 23 years. And this is the manifestation, the prayer of all your prayer work and everything that you have done has gotten you to this point. And he was right. I realized in that moment that when you're clear on your intentions, when you're doing your inner work, time is of no concern. Time is just the man-made construct. That spirit is constantly here. And when we've done our work, instantaneous manifestation can happen. And so I know that the voyage of the heart is something not only that's wonderful that Bob is in my life, that's a fantastic thing, but what the real voyage was, and this is what I want you to take out of this, it was being teachable, it was having courage and having the capability to do that mystical marriage, but most importantly, the voyage of the heart that I had to have was that of loving myself enough to let go of certainties that were no longer serving me at all, and knowing the truth about myself, that I am love and light and pure focus and intention and clarity. That was the gift that came out of this. And Bob was simply the manifestation of that gift. I look forward to continuing this journey with him. And I look forward to someday being his wife, someday very soon. We're planning it now. And that is a further reminder to me that if we just practice these principles, it doesn't matter how long it takes. It matters the quality of the intention that we put into it. It matters the quality of the consciousness that we bring to it every day. It matters the capability that we have to keep growing no matter what is happening around us. So if there's something that you have been journeying with, a voyage of the heart that you have been trying for years, I'm living proof, my friends, living proof that it may have taken me a while, but I finally bridged that gap into a full manifestation in my outer world. You too can have the desire of your dream if you simply say yes. Say yes and take the next step, whatever that direction is that is given you. Take it. You're probably having something coming into your mind right now, and you're going, wait a minute, I got to do this before. No, do it. Do it. Don't edit. Do it. Get to that place of absolute, I'm here. I'm in it. I'm in the game. I'm ready to go. Put me in, coach. I'm ready to go. Because that's what we're here to do. The voyage of the heart can be spectacular and scary and terrifying. It's like a roller coaster ride, because you can be excited and terrified at the same time. And that's okay, because I know that the God within me is sustaining me for everything. All of my heart's desires are coming into fruition right now, if I simply hold to those ideas and tenaciously, where I don't let anything come in between me and that good. I let everything else go. So let's take that idea into prayer. Let's take a deep breath in. We've processed a lot. Take a breath in and let it out. That very breath of God We turn now to that place that is breathing us, that spirit force, that life force that is always, always guiding us, directing us to whatever our highest good is. I know that the desires of our heart are absolutely there for a reason, that we are being gently prodded, just like that mother elephant, just gently nudged in the direction of our good. And so when we say yes to that nudge, when we say yes to moving in the direction of that good, all the guidance that we'll ever need will show up at exactly the right moment. All the direction, all of the resources that we'll ever need will absolutely be there. And so I know with certainty that God is in the midst of all of this. And that if you too are feeling challenged, maybe it's in the idea of prosperity, maybe it's health, maybe it's relationship as well. Maybe it's in the idea of just being in this world as a light bearer. Whatever your thing is, I know that you too can hold to a greater idea than you've ever expressed before. That you can see with your spiritual eyes something that is pulling you upward and forward movement, because that's the way the spirit goes. It never goes backwards, it goes forwards. You can stall it, but we don't want to stall. We don't want to camp there. We want to keep going. So pick up whatever your baggage is and let it go and move in the direction of your joy, of your lightness, of your light, of your power, of your beingness, of your God, and move into a place of absolute knowing that God is with you, ever with you as the partner that you can count on, that will have your back, and that will be there for you every step of your journey. So I know that each one of us is saying yes at some level today, in this moment. And because of that, you are different than when you join this Zoom call. You are now a more enlightened being, a more conscious being, a more aware person. There is a quickening that is happening right now within you. Let it happen. Let it go. And know that you are being called to something greater. You have that within you already that you need. Let it come forward. Let it awaken within you. There is no process. There is no formula. It's simply the awakening to that greater good that is already there. And so I know now that we can hold together in the truth of this, that each person on this Zoom call, each person that watches this in subsequent airings on YouTube, each person that is within the sound of my voice is capable of this as well. That if I can do it, anyone can do it. And so I know that there is something happening for each person here that is willing to say, I want that too. And I am moving in that direction right now. And whatever action I need to take will happen. I commit to that. And so I bless each and every person here who is calling themselves to a higher level of expression and joining their God self in knowing the truth about them. They are seeking first the kingdom of God, and all things shall be added unto them. That they understand that going within and seeking that place of Godness within them is the absolute answer to every question they will ever have. And so I simply let go, knowing that as I have declared these ideas, that there is something moving for each person here right now. A letting go is happening right now. And a higher calling is happening right now. And so we say, thank you, Spirit. Thank you, God, for all that is and all that is yet to be. The wonderment of an exciting life is right there waiting for us. We're so grateful for all that we get to experience, knowing that God is our co-pilot every step of the way. And so we simply say thank you. We let it be so. And together we say, and so it is. Amen. Well, thank you for letting me share a little bit more of myself than I normally do this morning. And I know that that each one of us is being called to something greater right now. So if you've received something this morning, and I sure hope you have, something within the service this morning from Reverend Pat or from me, or just from just seeing all the wonderful faces here in Zoom and being in this consciousness together, for we know that where two or more are gathered, there is the great I am. If you've received something and would like to give back to Unity of Charlotte, I know that that all gifts are lovingly received, whatever gift you give, whether it be a blessing or a monetary gift. We know that that you are sending these gifts to us because we are good stewards and are taking good care with what you are sending us. So if you go to, let me pull up the slide for you. If you go to our website, you will see that that we have. Let me move down to that. unityofcharlotte.org. If you move to that that website, you will see right there on the front page, donate now. Well, where did I do? I don't know what I did. There we go. Okay. And there's our address. If you want to send us a check, we lovingly and gratefully accept all gifts. So let's say our prosperity blessing together as we move into our time of giving. And here it is. Let's say it together. Joyously, I give this gift, knowing the divine presence blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Thank you, God. And so as we close today, I want to thank you again for being a part of our service. We will stay online for a few more minutes after the close. And I will be here, and I will be happy to share with you. And we're going to end, though, with our prayer for protection. So let's say that together. The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. Have a wonderful week. Namaste. We're so happy you were with us today. We hope to see you again next week right here on Zoom.